Good morning, lovelies, beautiful dreamers, goal seekers, life expanders. It is December 28th, 2023, and this is episode 29 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast. My gosh, so yesterday was a good day, starting to regroup from the holidays, get back into my routines. I got my hour of writing in yesterday. I've been working on a new routine, a new bit, and I actually went to an open mic last night. And I'll tell you, no matter how long I do comedy, the most nerve-wracking for me is open mics. I really do get nervous. I don't know what it is. I think, well, a lot of it is probably that if I'm at an open mic, I'm usually doing material, because what else am I there? You know, it doesn't really make any sense for me to go to an open mic and do stuff that already works. And so I'm usually trying something new. So there's that element of I'm trying to expand. I'm trying to develop a new bit, a new routine, try new jokes. And so there is definitely an element of discomfort, which I think is necessary for growth. So that's good. And I think another element of it is at any given open mic, probably 90% of your audience are other comics. Maybe even more, depending on the open mic. It could be 100% of your audience are other comics. And I really think there is something just a little bit more nerve-wracking and disconcerting about trying to make other comedians laugh. Talked about this before, you know, it's kind of like doing magic for magicians. They know the tricks, you know what I mean? They know what you're up to. And so to get a room full of comics to laugh at your material is just a little bit more nerve-wracking. And I wish I could say that I'm immune to jokes not working and that if it's a swing and a miss, that it doesn't bother me, that I just move on. But that is not the case. I still am very much attached to, you know, wanting things to go well and wanting people to laugh. And if I can't get that room to laugh at me, that is not a comfortable experience. So, anyway, so I went to this open mic last night. I've done the open mic a handful of times. So, you know, I did recognize a handful of comics. So I did feel a little sense of camaraderie. I had a couple of comics who, you know, saw me and we chatted for a little bit. One comic said that he saw me perform about a year ago, and he just said, man, you know, you did this bit. He goes, it was just really, really funny. So that was really nice. And I actually, he and I talked for a little bit, and I just said, yeah, you know, it's really nice to actually just hear a compliment. And he goes, you know, what's so funny is, you know, our assumption is that if a comedian is really great, that they know they're great and that they don't need to hear it, you know, so we're not going to compliment them. And I'm just going, oh no, that's not the case. Any positive reinforcement is always welcomed. And I appreciated it because he was also suddenly calling me great. That was kind of his point, was that he felt I am a great comedian. And he remembered that bit, and that when I walked up, he was like, yeah, I wasn't sure I was going to say anything, but, you know, because you assume that great comedians know they're great. And so he was kind of calling me great, which, you know, I wish I didn't need that at this stage, but, you know, I don't know if I need it, but I sure as heck do not mind it. I'll put it that way. So that was very nice to have a handful of comics, again, who recognized me, and so there was a bit of camaraderie. I ended up having a pretty good conversation with another comic who's actually Mormon. He's LDS, Those of you know who know my background know I used to be Mormon, and so we had a really great conversation just about that, about our collective mutual backgrounds. And as it turned out, I was drawn first. So I was the first comic after the host at the open mic. And I had written a new couple of bits this week in my writing sessions that I really wanted to try out and see if they have legs. And they went pretty well. They went well enough. You know, you have to sort of take open mics with a certain degree of grain of salt. You know, it's not that it's not that you just want to completely disregard what how an open mic audience is responding, but you know, there's also an element of you really do need to try a joke in front of a paying audience before you really know. And even more so, you need to try it out in front of multiple paying audiences and ideally across multiple demographics. I think it was Chris Rock who said he would always try his jokes out in front of a white audience. And if it made a black audience laugh and then also a white audience laugh, then he knew the joke was good. And so he was always trying to find material that sort of stretched beyond, you know, just a sort of a black demographic. And so now for a lot of us at the stage, like the stage where I'm at, a multiple demographic audience is not always available. But, you know, that's the goal. That's the goal, is to be able to get to a place where I can test material in multiple demographics, different regions of the country and different cities, different socioeconomic backgrounds, etc., so that, you know, I can really test and see if my material is ubiquitous. But until then, you know, got to work with the resources that I have available to me and the audiences that are available to me. And right now, you know, I'm very fortunate. I have pretty much a 3-city tour, a 4-city tour technically, coming up in the next week, because I'm going to be doing a show Saturday night here in Mesa, Arizona. And then I drive out to Chula Vista near San Diego. And then that next week, I have a gig in New Mexico and then a gig up in Colorado. So I am going to be at least in 4 different parts of the country, but I don't know how much of a demographic that's actually going to span. It could be potentially that those 4 different cities are more, you know, maybe a little bit more similar than different. But anyway, but you got to start somewhere. You got to put your material out there, whatever it is that you're doing, and start to build that audience, start to build the material, find out what's working, what's not working, right and refine. But it was, you know, it is really nice to feel those nerves, though. Even though it seems like I should be experienced enough that trying new material at an open mic doesn't faze me, but it still does. And always has. You know, it's pretty rare that I step on a stage as a stand-up comedian and not feel at least a little sense of nerves. It's really just a matter of the degree of the nerves that I'm going to feel. Now, there are some shows where the audience is just so welcoming and so supportive that the first thing out of my mouth, they just laugh at. And so then I relax, and then I just can really let myself go. I don't hardly ever get to that state when I'm doing open mics. I am in pretty much a panic mode. Like, I am in a pretty significant state of fear when I'm in a new environment, a new open mic, people I don't know, an environment I don't know. I only have 5 minutes. It's all new material. I don't know if the material's good. A lot of times I haven't really worked out the material to a point to where I'm 100% certain where all the jokes are, where all the punchlines. Sometimes maybe it's just more of a concept and I'm sort of looking to discover where the jokes are and where the punchlines are. So there's just a lot of unsurety, lack of surety in an open mic situation. Because reality, when my material is up to par and I've refined it and have performed it enough that I know it works, that I don't do that at open mics anymore because the material is already tried and tested. Now, I may have tried that material when it was brand new at the open mic, but once it's working, if I'm at an open mic, it's because I want to now expand more and I want to try something new. And last night, not only did I try new material, but I did try delving into a topic which I've never talked about before, and it's very controversial. I actually wrote some material about the whole transgender, debate that's going on right now, and made some jokes about that, which, can be a little risky. You got the whole cancel culture and, being woke, and, so I'm starting to now challenge myself to step into some of those topics, which are not only controversial and can potentially turn an audience against you if you're not careful, but, worst case scenario, if you go about it the wrong way, can actually have some negative impact on a career, because that's sort of the world that we live in right now. So, pulling out some of that brand new material that I've just wrote and just saying, all right, I gotta put this out there, see how it goes, see if it has legs, see if the audience pulls back, see if I'm, coming across as offensive or coming across as, closed-minded, and all of those fears that are at least common for me. I would assume maybe common for everybody is a fear that you're not going to be accepted, a fear that your art, the way that you're expressing yourself, what you're saying, how I am trying to mine humor out of a very hot, controversial topic it's a little nerve-wracking. But, I was just sitting there before the open mic, especially when I found out I was going first, and just started to think through of just how the reality is, if I'm not nervous and I'm not worried, or in other words, if it's comfortable, then I'm not growing. If I already knew that what I was going to say was going to work, and I didn't have to stretch and I didn't have to expand, and I was just going to sort of do the same thing that I always do, well, there's no growth there. There's no expansion there. And I just remember thinking that because, I was starting to get into this mental space of like, all right, I'm going to go in. And it was a pretty full room because I was the first comic. So all of the comics were in the room. Nobody had left yet. There were a handful of audience members there, actual legitimate audience members. I mean, it was a pretty full room, all things considered. There was probably a good 40, 45 people, and it's kind of a smaller room. So it felt really full in there. And again, probably 85% of that room were the other comics. And it was a little nerve-wracking. And so, but that's the reality. It's either be comfortable and don't grow, or be uncomfortable and grow and expand. And that's the opportunity that is available to all of us every day. Do I do what I've always done and get what I've always got? I know that's a very cliche little self-help trope, but it's really true. Or do you step into an unknown? Do you step into something that's going to be uncomfortable, that's maybe not going to work right away, that has some potential pitfalls to it if it doesn't go well? And just recognizing, going, well, that's where the growth is. That's where expansion is. And this is my opportunity to do that. And so anyway, that's what I did last night. Did my 5 minutes. I did about 4 minutes of new material, and then it kind of ran out. So after 4 minutes, then I went into some material that I've been doing for a while that works. And the funny thing is, the material I've been doing got the least amount of laughs. And I think it's, well, probably a lot of reason for it, but I think a main reason was I wasn't as excited about it. It was, I was really nervous about this new material, these new jokes, these new ideas, and trying them out and, seeing if they have legs. And, some jokes are hitting, some aren't quite. So it's like, okay, I know I got to go back and listen and do all the analysis and all the refinement. But then I got lit and I had kind of run out of that new stuff. And so then I just started doing some of my old material and my old material, which is supposed to be tried and true, and which actually has been very successful, got the least amount of laughs at the open mic. Isn't that interesting? So, that's just the space I'm in, is trying to put myself in a space of creating as much as possible, writing every day, taking as many opportunities to present that material, do the open mics, do whatever shows I can in the meantime to develop more material, hone my craft even more, and just allow myself to be uncomfortable, to step out of the comfort zone of the material that's working, or the venues that I'm going for, or the business decisions that I'm making, being willing to talk to people and to reach out to people. Just yesterday, I got a buddy of mine recommended me for a gig on New Year's Eve to host this show. And so I get a call from this random guy. Just says, "Hey, you were referred to me by Jim Barry. Are you available to host on New Year's Eve?" I said, "Unfortunately, I'm not. I'm already booked on New Year's Eve. But I appreciate the opportunity." And then he just said, "Yeah." And we started talking, and it turns out this guy's an indie filmmaker, and he's filmed some movies locally. And I said, "Hey, well, I'm a local actor and comedian as well. I'd love to give you my reel, and perhaps we can work on something else." He gave me his email address. I sent him a reel and, some clips. And, to me, that may seem like a simple thing, but to me, that was an expansion for me, because I used to be a lot more shy and a lot more hesitant to market myself and to just tell somebody, "Oh, no, this is what I do. Let's connect and see what happens." And so, the more that I challenge myself to step into those areas of discomfort and to challenge myself and to grow and to progress, the more expansion that I can see, the more growth that I can see. And that's my little tidbit of wisdom for anybody who's listening to these and looking to get a little bit of wisdom. So everybody, that is my check-in for today here on episode 29 of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, December 28th, 2023. I hope your journeys are going well. You're following your dreams. You're getting out there. You're being uncomfortable. You're expanding. You're pushing yourself to grow and to be a little scared and to have experiences that are new outside of your comfort zone, so that, we can just see what sort of opportunities we can shake loose in our lives. So I love you all so much. Let's have a great Thursday, and I will talk to you all tomorrow.